and welcome to Let's Talk Software Security. It's January 2024, and it's time to start looking at the predictions for this year. And Gartner have released their Predicts 2024 for AI and cybersecurity, turning disruption into an opportunity. And we're going to link it in the show notes below so you can get a copy of the full report. And I have the pleasure of being joined by my good friend Karthik. Happy New Year, Karthik. How you doing?
Good, good. Happy New Year, Mark, and doing really well. I think we have a good start to 2024. It feels like only a few days into it, but we're right there.
Yeah, it feels to me like it's March already, but yes, we're rocking and a rolling. And I know AI has been a topic that you've been kind of like heavily looking at lately, and you did a great talk at Nasdaq on the Nasdaq show right about the holiday time.
Yeah.
Um, as you were looking at this report, it talks about kind of like how it's disruptive, or it's going to be disruptive in a positive way. It talks about how we've had that overpromise of AI before. It also highlights kind of like how this year 2024 is gonna be the year when we're going to start to see some real use of generative AI. What were kind of like some of the key takeaways that you took from
Yeah.
this report?
Yeah, Mark, a couple of things stood out to me when I was going through it, right? It's, and I don't think so. It's anything that is surprising to anybody that who's been closely working or following the AI life cycle in 2023, right? 2023 happens to be probably it peaked as a hype cycle perspective, and exploration and experimentation. And that's very true from a security perspective, and solutions and solution providers have kind of felt like how to augment it, and also a heavy weight on the security operations side of the house. But one of the things that kind of stood out to me was like it's kind of beyond that, right? I think 2024 should be where minimum, I know, Gartner predicts minimum viable products will show up, and 2025 will be the year where it will be fully and really be integrated in security workflows. But I would say a lot of products and services, like, in 2024 will be in a year where you will be able to leverage that for real business use cases, right? From managing your security workflows predominantly, either from an incident response perspective, either from coding assistance. I know that only a few percentage points in terms of coding assistance people start to use. I think 2024 from a security remediation, you talk about software security, right? I think it's going to be 2024 is going to be a year where we would start to see a whole lot use, and people, embracing it and taking it upon, right? So it's going to be beyond experimentation and into real life use cases from a coding assistance use.
Yeah, and actually that was one of the the strategic planning assumptions that they have in the document. So by 2026, 40% of development organizations will use the AI-based auto remediation of insecure code from AST vendors, application security testing vendors, as a default, up from less than 5% in 2023. And they talk about how kind of like the current Gen AI is a little generic.
Yeah.
But the thing that I also kind of like dovetailing and going a little bit more into this is like it really helps with that knowledge gap, though. I mean, in under that strategic planning assumption, they talk about how you can present the data in the context of the person who's trying to understand it, the type of code base, the type of experience that that person has. But then their last assumption, which was by 2028, adoption of generative augments will collapse the skill gaps, removing the need for specialized education from 50% of entry-level cybersecurity positions. And in the report, they talk about going from a 6-month kind of like methodical training program to a
Yeah.
6-week targeted training program to achieve the same results. And I thought that was spot on for me, because I really think anybody that's used ChatGPT, you can really see kind of how you train it and how it adapts, kind of really kind of like improve productivity from that perspective. So yeah, I think that's also kind of one of the areas that you were leaning into there.
Yeah, I mean, when we think of it, right, I mean, that's a great thing, right? I think we talk about, not having skilled resources in the cybersecurity space, millions of jobs being unfilled because we can find the talent. So from that perspective, it is going to help. It also going to help like where people can come and have a head start or a jump start into being more into an architect, right? Like, they don't have to put through that 6 months of training trying to get to it, right? Also, it makes more pushes up on the value chain, right? We're not, when we get like some of the cybersecurity professionals even at the entry level that they talk about, you don't have to necessarily deal with blocking and tackling type activities, right? You can really jump into more about productive conversations, productive organizations type of activities, right? And with the ability, but keep in mind though, but I would say, like anything else, right? Any tool can be used for good or bad, and coding assistance or anything else could be also the same thing, right? So I would always caution everybody saying that it's almost an unintentional insider coming into the play, right? So if you're going to assume that, hey, I am having coding assistance, I can do that, I don't need to necessarily train my people, I don't think so. We're going to get there, right? Because you could easily ingest malleable, malicious code into your environment, right? And I mean, that's an easy way to, get some disruptions into your products and services and your software, right? So I would just, keep an eye on it and embrace it. I know that Gartner also talks about having a multi-year an approach on how you're going to start to embrace it. And pieces of that is going to be, how do you establish guardrails and how do you create, platform and tools that kind of aids you in that process, right? So if you're going to assume and kind of start to move down this path, you better have some mechanisms that can do detect and respond type capabilities, right? Okay, let's talk about you're developing the code and you're using this coding assistance. What mechanisms do you have to be able to detect and respond and auto remediate type capabilities come into play, right? So visibility becomes a big factor. I know that we have an ArmorCode platform. We have that one ability to kind of get visibility across all of your entire estate. As you ingest, Mark, I think your team does a very fantastic job of ingesting various sources, which actually kind of helps you power through, right? So it's going to be, organizations that can kind of start to put some more weight on that aspect of it, can start to embrace these benefits much faster, much quickly, right? Because you've established your guardrails, you have ability to look at, holistically and look and prioritize and understand some intelligence behind the risk scoring, right? Not just CVE, but intelligence about risk scoring. So when you have those plumbing in place and those guardrails in place, you can start to embrace this coding assistance and ability to do auto remediation and things like that, which is going to give you a large return of your investment. And maybe, quick time to market, ability to do stuff with more with less, and so many things come into play, come into fruition.
Yeah. They definitely talk about how, kind of like it's, focus on augmentation for productivity gains, not necessarily just automation, but that's the direction that ultimately we're going to be able to get to over the next few years. So I think it's a really insightful piece by the analysts from Gartner, and it really does take a very big view of both what we saw last year, what we should be seeing this year, as well as moving forward with some of their strategic predictions and outlooks. So with that being said, if you'd like to learn more, click on the link below, get access to the full report. Also, while you're down there, click like, subscribe. Stay tuned for our next episode. Karthik, thank you very much. I'll see you physically in a week. Maybe we can do a podcast live from the Bay Area. That would be awesome. But other than that, thank you, man. Appreciate the time as always. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Take us out.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye.